Hi, Jonathan Temple with Scott Property Group. I wanted to talk to you today about commercial real estate investment. When the average person thinks about real estate investment, perhaps they think of investing in a REIT, purchasing a second home to rent long term, or possibly a vacation home that they can rent out but also use themselves. These are all certainly possibilities, but I wanted to discuss with you the benefits of commercial real estate. Although it may seem daunting and expensive, keep in mind that if you finance the property, just like you may with a personal home, you just have to put down a percentage of the purchase price, usually 20 or 25% depending on the project. So on a $250,000 property, that'd be $50,000. $500,000, $100,000, $1 million property, $200,000, and so on and so forth. Expenses are typically lower for commercial properties. This is because expenses are almost always passed along to the tenant. Managing many of the maintenance issues becomes the responsibility of the tenant, saving you the headache as the landlord. Taxes and insurance are also typically passed along to the tenant. In addition, commercial leases are much longer. Residential leases are almost always for 1 year, whereas commercial leases are typically 5, 10, 15, or 20 years in length. This means that as a landlord, you are not constantly having to release the property each year, losing rent revenue, and having to pay marketing expenses. Successful tenant businesses want to stay once established, which leads to less turnover. Their customers become familiar with their location, and the businesses establish a loyal customer base. They don't want to risk losing that by moving. If they do leave, it is typically because they need more space. However, as a landlord, you can find out their needs in advance and work to obtain them more space either in the current center or by obtaining another property that fits their needs. The government is hesitant to get involved between the commercial business relationship between a landlord and a tenant, as opposed to residential landlord-tenant relationships where there is a possibility of a family becoming homeless. This means that the relationship established by contract between parties is not often trumped by government legislation. There are many opportunities to invest in commercial, whether that be land, tenant retail space, warehousing, etc. And the rate of return on average is much higher. For example, with land, you don't even have to have a building. You can instead continue to own the land and ground lease it for use for a tenant. You could then keep the land and collect the cash flow from the rent checks coming in, or you could sell the property and its included ground lease on the open market. As an example of a transaction I was involved with, the landowner purchased the property for $50,000 and owned it for several years. Later, he ground leased the property to a single tenant retailer. He then sold the property and the ground lease for just over $4.4 million. If commercial investment or investing in real estate in general is something that you think you may be interested in, Scott Property Group hosts a bi-monthly meeting with like-minded individuals. It's called the SPG Cash Flow Club. It's not a sales pitch meeting or anything like that. It's a group of friends and acquaintances that come together to share experiences. In addition, we often have a speaker touch base on a topic each meeting as kind of a value add. If you'd like to attend a future meeting or would like to discuss real estate investment more, feel free to reach out to myself or any member of the Scott Property team. We'd love to assist you in achieving your real estate goals. Take care and stay safe.